Games Weekly for Friday, April the 3rd. This episode, a lot of news dropped right before we hit record. So we're going to talk about PlayStation announcing all their game delays with like Last of Us 2 and other stuff. Apex has a new mode that's here to stay. Mario remasters for the Switch, Resident Evil impressions, all sorts of stuff on this episode here. With me today, we have Matthew, who is at XUser8X on all social media platforms. He's back with us. Matthew, what you been playing this week?
I've been playing lots of Animal Crossing. Actually, I took 2 days and played on Xbox Games Pass a Plague Tale Innocence. Played it all the way through in 2 days, which I'm gonna be honest, that's something you can only do during quarantine. It was a lot of game time in 2 days, but great game.
Yeah, I played that game as well on Games Pass, like when it first came out. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. And then obviously some Phantasy Star. Yeah, so that's where I've been.
Alrighty. Well, also on the podcast today, you can find him over at twitch.tv/Marty the Moth Casaus. You can find him at Martin Casaus on all social media platforms. We have with us today Marty the Moth Casaus.
All right. Meow, 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 meow. Oh, hold on, I even have it.
This week you've been playing stuff? You've been just sitting in a room?
I have been sitting in a room. I've been streaming workouts. Predator came out. The demo came out this weekend. So I played like a full weekend of just Predator. It's much like Dead by Daylight, except instead of just hiding, you can actually like shoot the mother trucker. So that stuck out to me. That was really fun.
Is that beta still going on, or is it over now?
It is over now. It's only for the weekend, and the new game comes out April 24th.
Yeah.
Nice.
The Resident Evil. We're going to talk about Resident Evil 3 a little bit later. The multiplayer for that is a similar game type, but I don't know if it's executed as well. I hope Predator is good because those type of games are good if they're done slightly well. But yeah, again, this is Logon Games Weekly, the podcast that has all the news and hot topics from the gaming world that you need to know about. New episodes upload every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, OutshThatHurts.com, and more. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, if you could rate us 5 stars, that helps us get seen, helps us get up in the charts, and that would be greatly appreciated. If not, you can just share us with your friends. Follow us at Logon Games on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can also tweet at us or send us a message on any of those platforms. If there's something you want us to talk about on the show, or you had a comment of something that we said in the show or whatever, reach out to us and we will maybe give you a shout out on the podcast and such as. But yeah, just one more little housekeeping thing before we get into all the news that dropped today and this last week. We are transitioning all of our podcasts over to another hosting service. So if anything happens, if anything goes wrong, if you're not hearing this on Friday, April 3rd, then that's what the issue is. So, but as of now, I think everything's good to go. But just want to give you a fair warning in case we have a hiccup here or there. But going on to the weekly news, we record this on Thursdays, and right before we hit record on this, PlayStation came out and announced that, let me see if the actual tweet is here. It is. Update, Sony Entertainment has made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve. So I'm reading this from Kotaku. Jason Schreier basically reached out to Naughty Dog for a statement, and I'm going to paraphrase this because it's a decent paragraph, but basically they said the game is just about done, but logistically they don't want to release the game if they can't release it the way they want to. So delaying the game until such time so they can solve these issues. So I kind of perceive that as maybe, physical copies of the game, they can't produce the amount that they want to, because they know a lot of people pre-ordered like the big bundles. And obviously all these warehouses in China have been shut down. They're just, according to Phil Spencer on a podcast I listened to last week, they're just now this week kind of getting back up. So my guess is that they can't get these physical copies made, and or they wouldn't be able to release this worldwide on day one like they want to. So they're just gonna kind of push everything back until they feel like they can make that happen. So Matthew, what are your thoughts on these delays? Yeah, also Iron Man VR got delayed, probably for the same reason, but these pushbacks mean, Ghost of Tsushima will probably get pushed back as well, because they're not going to come out, right when The Last of Us comes out. So thoughts on all this?
My thoughts are, I wonder if that means that The Last of Us is the PS5's like first big game. That's my thoughts. My thoughts are, sure, they wanted to put it out. When was the original release date on Last of Us? Do you know?
It was going to come out
May 29th.
Yeah,
I was gonna say early summer. Yeah, I feel like they push it back, and maybe that's a release day game of the PS5, and that would be a system seller for sure.
It would
even
be,
even if it came out on PS4 as well. And I don't think that there's a big stretch there, because all they could really just upscale some things and make it look a little better than it does on PS4. And it's still, it would have looked fantastic on PS4 regardless. It's Naughty Dog. Everything they make looks fantastic. And so,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that it means that a lot of these games that would normally be summer releases may just get pushed back to the PS5. And I think in the long run, that's a good thing for Sony, even though that was not the plan. And even though the plan was that they have, what is it, like 100 and I don't even remember, 130 or something like that PS4s in existence. And a ton of those people would have bought this game. They're going to sell a lot of PS5s if they put this game on PS5. And I think it's actually a real possibility now. I'm sure that's something that they're in closed doors talking about if they haven't already.
Possibly. I think, like I said, The Last of Us 2 getting delayed. If they keep with the times here, then Ghost of Tsushima is going to come out after The Last of Us 2 whenever that happens. So I think that game is more likely to be a PS5 game. It also depends on if these developers are even working on upgraded patches like for graphics and stuff for the PS5, or if they were already planning on having a PS5 version of these games or not. So
yeah, I wonder if that is, because that's a good point. I never thought about that as far as, hey, if you're going to push it back a little bit further, why not put it on the PS5? But I don't know what the graphics on the PS5 are going to look like. So does that mean they do a full update on graphics on that and just hold it? Or do they release it on the PS4 prior and just release a better one for PS5?
Yes, that's the thing. Like if say The Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima got pushed back to around where the PS5 was going to launch anyway, then you would think that, it's backwards compatible anyway. So the real question with that is, have they already been planning on having an upgraded patch, which is like, oh yeah, if you bought The Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, you have a PS5 like day one patch. That's going to give you upgraded resolution and frame rate and graphics or whatever. They're already working on that, then this kind of makes it a little bit easier to be like, let's just push maybe one of these or both of these to launch titles for the PS5. And it'll come out on the PS4 at the same time, but then if you get the PS5 version, you already have the updated graphics and everything like that. So it's interesting, and this is more than likely like Sony was the first to start backing out of all these events because of coronavirus, really before it was a huge deal over here in America. and now they're kind of the first to be pushing back first-party games. So I'm wondering if this is the snowball effect is going to happen again, to where some of these third parties come out. Some of these third parties, like Cyberpunk, Marvel's Avengers, have already been delayed. So maybe those get delayed more. Maybe not. I don't know. But this could be a snowball effect we see, whether it's public or not. So it's definitely something to.
And also, I would rather them hold the game off and give us the game they intended to come out than have I don't know if you heard about any of the fun stuff that happened with WWE 2K20. They came out with that game. It wasn't finished. It sucked balls. And it was glitching every 2 seconds. And people now, when I go to Twitch and see what people are streaming, most people are playing the game for the year before. So I would rather have a big wait and get a game they intended than get some crap that hopefully will come out with a patch and give us a bad impression on the first go round.
There was I kind of mentioned this a little bit ago, but there was a podcast from IGN Unlocked, which is their Xbox podcast, that went live yesterday or a couple of days ago. It was this week sometime, where they interviewed the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, and they basically asked him, like, because of coronavirus, if any of your software, or like, first of all, they asked him, like, is the hardware, I know both you and PlayStation have said hardware still on track to come out this fall or this winter, whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's still on track. Like, obviously things can change, but as of now, we don't, as of right now, he's like, things are on track for everything to come out. But then he asked the bigger question, which was like, if software gets delayed, like, is that going to cause these consoles to get pushed back or whatever? Like, if Halo comes out and like, we need more time because coronavirus, everybody's working from home, we couldn't get this game ready in time. Does that mean the Xbox will get pushed back? And I think, this from PlayStation, if The Last of Us 2 is getting delayed, which means Ghost of Tsushima, I assume, will be getting delayed, what does this mean in the background with like games that were going to be launch titles for the PS5 that we don't know exist yet, obviously, but internally they may be like, this isn't going to be ready for launch now. So this could just be the first sign of one crazy year that's already been, but
the apocalypse.
But hopefully this could be the sign of the video game apocalypse, where everything gets pushed back and it all comes out at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometime next year, just like April of next year, every game is going to drop.
Everybody just gives up on 2020.
Right. But I think it's totally possible for them to put out Last of Us and Tsushima on PS5 release day of PS5. I don't think that would be a crazy thing to do. I don't think that would be a bad thing to do. You're giving people more reason to buy your brand new console. That makes perfect sense to me. That you would never release those at the same time in the middle of a console cycle, but for release day, that makes sense to me. I could see that if they're ready, obviously.
Yeah, which is coming out in November, right? Do we have the release date for November, or do we have a release date
right now? The website on PlayStation5.com or whatever it is just says holiday 2020. Still, they significantly, or they specifically updated that, like, as there were questions on if these consoles were going to get pushed back, and they went on their website and put holiday 2020. So I think they're still kind of pushing for that. I mean, right now we're still early on. Like, these consoles aren't going to be manufactured starting now. It'll probably be a couple months before they really start going. So I think that's kind of where their mindset is now. Like, a lot of their warehouses are in China. They're just now starting to get back up and going. And in 3 months' time, when we're ready to like go gung ho on our hardware, everything should be back to normal. I think it's kind of what they're saying.
Now, this is a little off topic, and I know this is not on this, but we're talking about the PS5 release now. There were multiple articles that came out. Today's Thursday when we're recording, so yesterday, Wednesday, that were reporting that there is now a place in Canada that you can pre-order your PS5 from, and the price equates to $395 US. So people are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still just hearsay, still just rumor, but it's definitely saying that it's possible the PS5 will be a $400 system. So, which
It's
we've talked about.
possible. I think.
We've talked about.
Yeah. I think that's probably more so a placeholder because they don't want to say it's $500 and then have people come in and
Maybe.
pre-order it for $500 and then it's $400 and then they have to give all that money back. So
Sure, 100%. And it may not. That may be some site doing that independent of Sony having given them any information or anything. So,
it's possible.
But it's definitely at least worth noting that because I've said it before. I'm thinking 400 is probably where the PS5 comes out. I think they'll take a loss on it, and it's fine because they'll make the money on the games, especially if you have something like Last of Us that's a release day game, or even just a month later for holiday or something like that.
I mean, in theory, if everything's getting pushed back, whatever launch titles you had lined up for the PS5 day one, you can push those back a couple months and then just insert The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima as launch titles, and then you would still announce those other games, so people will be like, "Oh, dang! Like, we can go ahead and get the PS5 now, play the best versions of The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, and then over the span of the next 3 or 4 months, we're going to get this game and this game and this game." So it's very possible, but I mean, for this specific story, logistically, I think I think PlayStation just wanted to make sure that when The Last of Us comes out, everybody in the world can play it all at the same time, which is what Phil Spencer was saying on that last podcast. Was like, we're not going to delay a game or a console, or only come out with it like in the U.S. and Europe and not everywhere else. He's like at this in 2020, it needs to come out everywhere at the same time. Basically, is what he was saying.
Right.
So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting.
But I think that's smart, though.
But yeah,
I like your idea. Push it back to make it coming out all at once. It's backwards compatible anyway, so bring it as a console, PS5 game, and put it out for the PS4 as well. But PS5, leave it for the goods. Leave it for the main system coming out.
That just makes sense.
Yeah, and then it also depends on third parties, but maybe third parties games going to get pushed back too that may have been on. Like Call of Duty every year comes out around the same time that these consoles may come out. Like, is that going to be pushed back now and all this stuff? But
some of the
time
stuff
will tell.
Some of the stuff that's going to thrive right now are some of these indie games, because a lot of these indie games don't have to push back because there's a significant portion of indie games that are made by incredibly small studios that don't have to change anything, or just one or two people that making this game that don't have to change anything. They don't have to worry about it. They just work from home like they always do, or whatever. So it'll be interesting.
I think if it's possible for a game to come out now, I think it will be. Like even with Final Fantasy VII, they came out and said the game's still on track to come out, but physical copies are going to be a lot harder to get than normal, which is one of the reasons why this Last of Us delay is happening.
Sure.
But digitally, if you live in a place that has good enough internet, like a lot of us do, then that's going to more than make up for the lack of physical copies. I mean, we saw that with Animal Crossing and Doom this last week. They sold like hotcakes because everybody's at home. They want to play something.
But they sold like crazy physical copies too, which is the surprising part to me.
Right. I haven't bought a physical game since I can remember now. I just download everything. Yeah. Are you guys downloaders or you guys get the physical copy?
We're downloaders, but
I'm downloader for the most part.
We talked about Animal Crossing had the highest physical sales of any Nintendo game in the Switch's history in Japan by a lot.
Wow.
I think second place was Zelda. No, second place was Smash with like 1.27 million or something in the first 3 days, and Animal Crossing sold like 1.88 million.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Walmart to get your toilet paper, and your paper towels, and you're like, listen, might as well go over there and get Animal Crossing before they sell out everywhere.
That's true. Yeah, and it was also the highest selling Nintendo physical copy first 3 days in Europe too. And so these are in places where you're not supposed to go out and do things, and they're still breaking records. Which that was the surprising thing to me. I love Animal Crossing. I did not see this love coming for Animal Crossing.
Yes, it's blown up. But we're gonna move on. We have some more weekly news here. We can blow through. So, like I said last week, Games with Gold was announced this week, and the 2 games that you're getting on Xbox One are Project Cars 2 and Knights of Pen and Paper Bundle. So I don't know what that second game is. The Project Cars 2 will be available April 1st through the 30th. Knights of Pen and Paper Bundle will be available April 16th through May 15th. So if you are an Xbox Games with Gold, or if you have Xbox Gold or Ultimate or whatever, those are your games for April. They will be out this coming Tuesday. Surprise drop. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remaster is now available on PS4. So only the remastered campaign is available, and it's only available on PS4, and it's available for $20 right now. I think this, for those of you unfamiliar, basically the whole campaign leaked on YouTube a couple days ago.
On the YouTubes?
And then the next day, this dropped. So there was already a rumor of this dropping, but then the campaign leaked. So, which, I mean, it's an old game, so I don't think a leak really matters all as much as it normally would. But it's out on the PS4 now, and it comes out on everything else on April the 30th, I believe. And I would assume that multiplayer and everything will also be remastered. So if you get this on PlayStation, I would bet that April 30th they'll be like, oh, we're dropping the multiplayer or whatever as well. So a lot of Modern Warfare 2 fans out there. So
Modern Warfare
there's
2
your
is the
remaster.
one that has the really, really good Spec Ops, I believe. I'm trying to remember because it's been this long
Yes.
since I played
It was.
these games.
Um,
I loved it. Enjoyed that a lot. That was the best part of the game, in my opinion.
So let's go to Apex Legends. Another thing that right before we start recording this podcast. Apex Legend, I'm reading this from GameSpot.com. Apex Legend is permanently adding duos to matchmaking. So let me find exactly what we're talking about here. So they announced a new event via a video. Same kind of event as normal, like you have some items that are special to the event and blah, blah, blah. There's a new mode called the Old Ways event. I don't know exactly what that is. But anyways, the big news is here. Duos mode is permanent now, so you can now decide on your squad size before launching into a match, as well as the map you want to drop into. Apex Legends is introducing map rotation permanently too, letting you switch between Kings Canyon and World's Edge. So I don't know the specifics on this because this is going to come out April 7th, so this coming Tuesday. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is a ranked mode thing right now. I think this is just normal, quick play. You can kind of pick what map you want to play, and you can pick if you want to do 2 or 3 player. So as far as my knowledge goes, that they're not doing a duos ranked mode, or maybe they're just kind of testing this out for the next. I mean, there's like 4 weeks left to go in this ranked mode, so basically over the next month, maybe they're just going to kind of monitor duos mode and see if there's enough people playing it to warrant doing a ranked mode for that. But
right.
At least it's permanent now, so you can hop in and pick your map and do duos. So
it would
that's
not
the thing.
surprise me if we saw that being in ranked mode by the next season, for sure.
Not at
Me
all.
neither.
Duos excites the living crap out of me, guys. I won't even lie.
Yeah,
I agree. Especially a duos ranked mode. I would love a duos ranked mode. Because a lot of times you don't have 3 friends or 2 other friends online. You just got to go with what you got.
Exactly.
Or 2 other friends at all.
We'll be your friend. We'll be your friend.
Okay, good.
I'm still waiting for an Apex match with all of us, by the way.
We need to.
We do. We need to do it.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm free after this is over.
I'm jumping on my stream.
I'll play with you on the stream.
Ooh, perfect.
I'll play with you on the stream. Let's do it.
All right. I like that.
All right, guys. If you're listening to this, you missed it. It was yesterday for you.
Build a time machine. Just build a time machine. Go back in time. Give us 5 stars on Apple, and then watch the stream.
It's not like you can go back and watch yesterday's stream or anything. So
You can actually, if you go back on my Twitch, you can actually watch the streams for I think the last 3 months.
See,
we got you
So
guys'
if you're listening to
backs.
this, so this is April 2nd. If you're listening to this in July, you could still go back, okay?
Also,
And
for you
watch
guys,
what we're talking
for you
about.
guys that are out there, I realize we only do a weekly show. On April the 4th, it is Andrew's birthday. You should blow him up on the Twitters and all those things, and tell him how pretty of a face he has.
That's not accurate.
That's not accurate.
But
somebody's lying here. Someone on this conversation is lying.
You should go into his Animal Crossing town and leave him a gift for his birthday.
I agree.
I think you can. I've gotten 2 gifts, not for my birthday. I got these earlier in the week. I've gotten 2 gifts mailed to me from Switch friends. So I guess I don't.
They're called GIFs. Okay,
that's not true. But I guess there's a way. I don't know. I mean, there's always been like a mail person usually, but we don't really have a mail person. Maybe it's at the airport or something where you can just send gifts to people that you've best friended or whatever.
Correct. I think I sent you something like the first day or 2 of the game just to see how that process worked.
Interesting. I haven't done that. I need to check it out. But, you know, segue for more Nintendo news. Another giant thing that happened a couple days ago. Big time leaks and rumors. So none of this is confirmed, but it's basically all but confirmed. Multiple inside sources from GameSpot, IGN, Kotaku, etc. have confirmed all this. But basically, the first report was via Eurogamer. Nintendo is planning to release remastered Switch versions of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 3D World, and Super Mario Galaxy as a part of the franchise's 35th birthday celebration. Also, I don't know if it's in this article I'm reading, but we've talked about this on the podcast before. They're also planning a brand new Paper Mario game for this year. So, again, all but confirmed from Nintendo itself. But it looks like we're going to get a whole bunch of remasters for Mario games for the Switch. Now, whether this means they're just your typical old school remaster where they just maybe make it look a little bit better, but it's the same game, or maybe they gave it a little bit more loving, and it's going to look, maybe not as good as, I don't know, maybe they use the same engine as Mario Odyssey and they just kind of just remastered everything in that engine with all these games. But either way, good news for Mario fans. And, if Nintendo's going to have to compete at the end of this year with 2 brand new consoles, you might as well come out with all the Mario games you got.
Right. It works. It works.
It works. If we're going to compete, let's just come out with all of our Mario games. That's all we have to do.
Absolutely. Out of all the Mario games that are mentioned, what's the one you're looking forward to the most?
Oh, Mario 64 for me.
Okay.
Mario 64. That was
I'm really
jam.
hoping.
I'm giggling about this as remastered because it's not like this. So the Switch has graphics like the PS4, even though I know they could have that capabilities, but it's not like they have those. The graphics are going to be just slightly better than 64. Yeah. I think that's my biggest question. I don't think it's going to be this, but I would love if Super Mario 64 remaster is like graphically how Mario Odyssey is, and they just like kind of gave it the Resident Evil 2 and 3 treatment a little bit, where it's like, yeah, like it's a remaster, but it's also kind of a bit of a remake where you got the graphical improvements and you got some quality of life improvements, maybe mess with the controls a little bit to make them a little bit more updated for 2020 and stuff like that. Same with, I'm excited for Super Mario Sunshine the most because I played the crap out of that game. I played the crap out of Super Mario 64, but I also played the crap out of it when it was on the original DS and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think
I'm excited to play Sunshine again.
I think for me and you both, Sunshine was the first one that we spent that kind of time in. We didn't play 64 until later. I think that's correct.
I've never played Super Mario Galaxy, so
Me neither.
excited for
Galaxy
that as
is
well.
amazing. So, Galaxy is kind of like the necessary step from Mario 64 to what they did with Odyssey. It's that necessary step in between. It's a great game. Both of them are great games, but they feel somewhere in between those two games is what they feel like.
Yeah.
And there's my dog.
Well, I'm excited. I'm really, and that's my dog.
Hi, dog.
But I am. I don't know. I'm excited for all this. I'm excited to see exactly what it is. That these remasters are going to look like. I mean, it'll still be fine and it'll still sell really well if they're just updated graphically a little bit or whatever. Or put in like games like Super Mario 64, like we're just going to upgrade the graphics a little bit, slap it on widescreen so you can play it on your Switch now. Or if it's just going to be like more of a port or whatever. But
and to me, the most exciting thing this entire article is the fact that there's a new Paper Mario game coming out. I love those games. I'm a huge turn-based fan, anyways, and Paper Mario games are just great.
Yep. We talked about this rumor of this new Paper Mario. It's been this is episode I think 13 of this podcast. But it was pretty early on when these rumors came out, right?
I say
pretty on when these rumors came out, and we talked about this Paper Mario game and them saying that it's going back to kind of its roots and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Gaming industry is going to be blowing up here. Like I agree with. This is the time where the indie promoters make the best game. It's the time for them to shine because they don't have the big force behind them. Bring back the classics because you're having a bunch of people who maybe weren't gaming before. Now they have nothing to do, and a lot of them have kids that possibly might be enjoying the same game. Like, I remember this in Nintendo 64. So this is actually something some of the parents can actually play with their kids that, hey, maybe they might understand actually.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I'm just saying, another like Earthbound. Bring Earthbound back. Come on, I'd play that.
I think Earthbound is playable on Nintendo Online. Maybe
it's
I'm
not
wrong.
right now. It's not. I think it was at one point. It is not at the moment.
Gotcha.
But I don't mean bring that one back. I'm saying give me a new one.
Well, we'll see. They'll give you a new one, and then it'll get pushed back for 2 years.
What I need the NBA 2K story mode made by Telltale. That's what I need.
Oh, that'd be sexy. I really dig those Telltale games. I won't lie. Those things are sick.
Oh, they're so good.
100%.
So good.
Another question that arises with this Mario news: is it all one bundle, or do they all sell them separately? Or they do like a Mario 35th anniversary bundle that has 64 Sunshine and 3D World and Galaxy all in one shabazz? Or they just sell them individual and like spread them out throughout the year?
I think they're separate. And I think whenever the last one comes out, maybe like $100 bundle for all of them, which is not awful, I don't think. That's 4 games for $25 a piece.
I agree.
They'll probably sell for 40 or 60, depending on the game.
I 100% agree. Like come out with them individually, get the hype over the single game, and then once the final game comes out, do the big package. Yeah, try and get them all at once. I think that's brilliant. I like it. It's like we have a genius on stream.
Or it would be a very Nintendo thing to do, to come out with whatever order they decide to go in, and put out a bundle with maybe that's your second like colored design Switch dock with the new Switch, maybe a Mario one. I could see that.
Maybe I would assume they I know I can see a bundle and them not doing bundle. They don't do a bundle. I can see them, releasing one of these in the summer and then end of summer and the fall, basically leading up to the brand new Paper Mario game, and that's kind of like the home run of it all.
Sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
But we shall see. Either way, I'm excited to play Mario Sunshine again, for sure.
When is Mario Sunshine 2 coming out?
Maybe that's what they announced. That'd be crazy. All these games they do a bundle with all the games, and they say we're doing another bundle with all their sequels later.
Oh, that'd be
I
sexy.
know, right? And another one they could lead up to that we've already talked about before is the next Mario Kart game. That's definitely something they have to be thinking about. So
God, I hope so.
If they don't come out with like at least one of those every 5 years, they're crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
They hate money.
True.
Exactly.
We're gonna move on to something the exact opposite of Mario. We're gonna head in here to the topic of the show. Resident Evil 3. By the time you're listening to this, is out. So if you are interested in all that, then it is available. And this past week,
opposite of Mario, but they have a pretty good partnership with Nintendo putting stuff on the Switch. Just saying.
I'm just talking game wise.
I don't know. I think a crossover.
You may let your yeah.
Have Mario running from Nemesis.
No. What do you think? Leon in Smash Brothers. I think it would totally work.
Oh, that would totally work.
If he was a Fire Emblem character, yes, or
That's true.
Or an ARMS character or something no one wants, then yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so this last week they dropped. Maybe they dropped it. No, it was this week. They dropped the demos for Resident Evil 3 Remake. They dropped a story demo, and they also dropped a multiplayer beta. So the story demo is very short. And we were talking about this a little bit before we recorded. It does look fantastic, Marty was telling me, and it does. I played it. It took about 15 minutes because that's all you get. You basically you play Jill and you walk out the little train station and like, hey, this thing's on fire. You need to find a thing to put the fire out. And then you kill a couple zombies, and then you get the fire hose, and then Nemesis drops down, and you run away from him, and you put out the fire, and that's the demo. There, I just told you what it is. Congratulations.
There you go.
I got the feelings it's a little bit more action-y than Resident Evil 2 Remake, for those of you that played it. It's not action-y to the point of like, Resident Evil 5 or 6, something crazy. But it is slightly more action-y. A lot of more red barrels about. A lot of zombies climbing fences.
Which is Resident Evil 3 though. It was a little more actiony than 2, anyways.
Yeah. The biggest thing I think is the if you're on PlayStation R1 or whatever, right bumper if you're on Xbox, is kind of like a dash step kind of move, and you can do it in every direction. And that's kind of gives you the idea of like, yeah, there's gonna be so many zombies, and it's gonna be more action based. Where if Nemesis is on you or whatever, you can kind of dodge them with that. Or if you need to get through a bunch of different, like a horde of zombies or something, you can shoot a couple and then maybe dodge a couple, kind of thing. Rather than it was in Resident Evil 2, where it's like you need to run in the back of the room and get, your sights set up to really just take out whoever's there, or just run. But
Or just run.
Yeah, the game looks fantastic.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Just take off.
I've been having this the whole time we've been doing this podcast. I've just had like a walkthrough playing this whole time, and this looks almost like a movie straight up. I'm scared for graphics on PS5, to be honest. I am scaredly excited. Scared nonetheless, because it's going to look like, especially when they move these graphics to a virtual reality world, this is going to be ridiculous.
Hopefully that next Resident Evil is also the next mainline Resident Evil game is in VR again. One would hope. But yeah, graphically Resident Evil 2 looks really good. This looks slightly better, which is, it's the engine that they made when they decided to do these new Resident Evil games was probably one of the best decisions they ever made, because it runs really well and everything looks real pretty. But yeah, the demo's out now. If you want to go on, download the demo and check it out before you decide to buy the game, then you can go for it. The thing with Resident Evil 3 Remake is that it is bundled with Resident Evil Resistance, which is their multiplayer mode, which Marty was talking at the beginning of this podcast about Predator. This multiplayer mode is very similar. It's one of those, you got 4 people They call them survivors in this. So you have 4 survivors, and you all kind of got your abilities and whatnot, and then you're playing against the one guy that's trying to kill you, basically.
Who's like a zombie, or?
So you basically are kind of a guy behind a computer. You don't really ever see the guy, but so you pick which kind of zombies to spawn and where. You go from camera, like security camera to security camera to kind of see where the survivors are, and then you can place regular zombies, or eventually you can basically get a version of Nemesis. I forget what they call him. It's not Nemesis, but it's basically like a dude that's super unkillable and can just like wipe out a whole team. All the way to like getting turrets inside the security cameras that you can like shoot out at the people and stuff like that. So you can also set traps and do all that kind of stuff. And then as survivors, obviously you're just trying to work together to get past it. So I played this game with a friend of ours, Colby. We played for about 2 hours, only because matchmaking was god awful.
Oh, man.
Because it's a beta and they were having super crazy buggy issues, as betas do. Although the game's coming up fairly soon, so they might want to try and fix that. But we got in and we played maybe. Say what?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
I was just saying, please fix it. Please.
Yes.
People looking for something to do right now.
There's a lot that needs to be fixed. That's all I'll say on that.
Oh no.
We played maybe six or 7 games of this total. Extremely buggy, extremely glitchy. The first game that we played seemed to be what I think it should be. If you cancel out all the glitchiness that happened, just the fact that like you start out, you have 5 minutes as the survivors, and you have to get through 3 doors. So the more you kill zombies, and the more you do the puzzles to get to the next door, and the more you go through, like I said, there's 3 doors. First door gets you to the next area, second door gets you to the next area, and the third door you escape. So you get time added back on for basically all the good stuff that you do. And then you get time taken away for if you get downed or you step on a trap, or basically all the bad stuff that the main villain is trying to get you to do. And you just try and get out with time left. But it is so, like I said, the first game we played seemed normal. It seemed like, oh yeah, the first area, the dude could spawn some normal zombies. He spawned some dogs at one point, set a whole bunch of traps, and it was kind of annoying. And we got out of that first door with like 2.5 minutes, something like that. Seemed normal. We went through the game, ended up losing. Every other game besides that, it was complete massacre for us as survivors. It was like by the beginning of the second, after you walk through the first door, basically, I don't know. I never played. I played the tutorial of the main villain, but I never played him in the beta. But it seemed to me like the amount of points it took to spawn certain zombies or traps or whatever went up significantly when you get through that first door, because it was like the Nemesis looking guy was there. It's like 5 dogs, traps all over the place. And it's like we died 5-6 times in a row in that second area. And it was just like, it was ridiculous. Now, part of that was because, maybe if we had a whole team of 4, we could have communicated better, sure. But to me and him, as we played more, it just seemed like it's very imbalanced. And some of the reviews that are coming out now are giving it like 5s and 6s out of 10 for the multiplayer kind of thing. And from what me and him played, that's still generous.
Oh wow!
But yeah, so there's
just
I don't know what to say.
The good news is if it's balance issues, that's fixable.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's
correct
innate other problems, then that's something else I have to look at. But if it's just imbalanced, that's fixable, and that's what the beta is for. So hopefully that gets fixed.
Yeah, I would love to see the patch notes tomorrow, if there is any, to the multiplayer, because it did seem like every game we played was glitchy, without fail. So that obviously is a big part that needs to get fixed, because even if the balance changes do come and it's still crazy glitchy, then that's a problem. But like Marty said with Predator, and I haven't played Predator, but we played games like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th. It's really easy to win if you're playing against someone that's never been the villain before or doesn't really know how to do it. And then it's really difficult to win when you're playing someone that only plays the villain and is a freaking expert. So that I understand with these types of games. But it's the fact that we played 5 or 6 games in a row where it's just like we don't have a prayer. Like we can't even walk through a door without getting demolished. And for example, the surveillance camera turret thing, like you can shoot the surveillance cameras to make it harder on the person, but that turret will it's an automatic death basically.
Oh wow.
So stuff like that where it's like someone walks into a room, and even if you're behind them about to walk in, it's like by the time you get through the door, they're down or stuff like that. So I really hope they balance this thing out. Good news is, I don't know what the Metacritic is for the story mode right now, but it's getting 9s and 10, basically the same kind of reviews that Resident Evil 2 got. So super high on story mode. So that's really good, which may be why because if you remember, they announced the multiplayer mode a while before they announced Resident Evil 3. So maybe they had an inkling of like, let's just bundle this together. Instead of come out with these things separately, because maybe they kind of got the hankering that this isn't going to be any good. But keep your eye on it. In theory, it's like a lot of these games, whether it's Predator or Dead by Daylight or anything like that, in theory, it's a good idea and it's really fun. And when it's executed well, it's really fun. But as of the beta, that's not the vibes that we got, and it's not the vibes that it seems like a lot of people that are reviewing this game got. So,
and I
keep
agree.
your eyes peeled on that.
Balance should be that's a good thing. That's the whole point of coming out with a beta, so you can see like, oh, okay, the balance on this sucks. However, going back to it as well, is when I'm someone like in the Predator or something like that, the whole thing is about the Predator. So you should feel like, oh my god, I just survived, rather than, oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's so it looks like we went a little bit too far with the zombies killed us all. But the balance thing could be easily fixed versus a glitch.
Right.
Because I think if like a Dead by Daylight, it shouldn't be very easy to kill a Jason or something like that. Granted, you can't in that game.
Jason. I would agree with that. But yeah, they have time to fix this thing, hopefully. Or hopefully they already kind of knew. They just put the beta out there to kind of test the servers and stuff, because it was pretty glitchy. But this kind of sums up. This is the verdict. I'm reading IGN's review of Resistance, and this kind of sums up how I felt about it to an extent. So it says, Resident Evil Resistance's 4v1 multiplayer mode has its moments, but could benefit from some character balancing, combat feedback, and it doesn't feel as good as it does in single player. Playing the villain mastermind is consistently far more of a blast than staying alive as the unbalanced survivors, particularly because you can play as iconic baddies from across the series, but also because messing with your victims feels so devious, whatever. So that's kind of the vibe that I got, because I didn't play the villain, but we got demolished by the villain every single time. The first time it was, I feel like if we would have had a team of 4, we would have won. But every other time it was like, we can't even advance. We can barely get halfway through before we just get demolished. So I can see that being fun. But yeah, like we said, hopefully they can get this balancing issue fixed here soon. But did you, Marty? Did you playing Predator? Like, I wish I would have played it so I could
I did too. I was
kind of
waiting
know
for
more
you,
about
man.
it. But did it seem like did it seem balanced to an extent? And did it have any like issues? Did you come across any issues or whatever in the whether it's like glitchiness or bugs or anything like that?
Not a lot of bugs, to be honest. Like, maybe there was a little bit of a balance issues where it was a little bit like the players could all get grenades, and when you have somebody down in Predator, you can't kill them unless you get them down, and then you rip their skulls out, which is super cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have somebody that's working even slightly together, everybody was able to get grenade launchers, and now I was seeing you down one guy, and while you're doing the action of trying to rip the skull out of somebody, there's three other people shooting you with a grenade launcher, which so now you're completely almost dead now, and you have to run away and turn invisible. So there's a little bit of a balancing thing, and I know there's servers where holy crap, this is a lot of people, so matchmaking was kind of hard. But
Mm-hmm.
it sounds a lot more balanced than what you had to go through, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But it was still
because it's
fun.
also just it's also confusing. Like I said, I don't know how Predator is. Um, I know in Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th, whether you're playing the survivor or you're playing the villain, the more you play, you can kind of buy upgrades or different moves or anything like that. I don't know if that's the case in this game or if it was the case in the beta, but I will say we did play one game where whatever the nemesis like Professor X dude is or Mr. X dude is, that just drops down and just can annihilate you. The first door you open in the entire game, like he was sitting there waiting on us. So I'm like, I'm wondering if this guy has just been saving up his credits and just decided to just demolish us because you can take control of a zombie or any of the zombies. So you're placing them in your surveillance cameras, but you can take control of them and it's like press X to swing or press Y to basically do what you just said, to pick them up by their head and try and like bust their head open. So we opened that first door and it was just this massive man just swinging at us and we were all dead in like 30 seconds. And that was that entire game. And I was like,
Wow.
well, that's fantastic. So I don't know credit situation or how that works with buying upgrades and stuff like that. There's only one map we played on. We couldn't do anything with our the survivors like abilities and stuff. They were what they were. Like you couldn't change or add. You did get like some sort of credits at the end of every match, so it makes me think that you can buy and upgrade stuff. But like I said, the game's going. By the time you're listening to this, the game is out. Go check out some reviews. I'm gonna try and check out the patch notes. Maybe next week or a couple weeks from now, we can give an update to kind of how the multiplayer is going on. But
I think one of the things that they can do on these all versus one type games is make it all versus two. And I think that would make a big difference because I mean, in theory, you say, well, two players, that makes it more powerful or whatever. But if you give both players to have to cooperate to be that powerful, then it creates a little bit more. You're less likely to meet that one person who's just beast at doing that job, and you're creating a little bit of friction within a team to make them have to work together to be that powerful. And I think that could maybe fix some balance issues.
it could. Every time a game like this comes out, I always say the same thing, and maybe I'm in the minority. I don't know, but I would love for them to just have a mode in all these things that are you are the four people and you're just playing against the computer, and like kind of like a spec ops type thing where it's like, yes, maybe there you have different kind of missions, or maybe there's a difficulty, uh, like easy, normal, hard type thing, to kind of to give you a challenge or whatever. But there's not to my extent, and there really hasn't been in a lot of these games. But But
there
yeah,
should be. That's what betas are
there
for.
should be. Yeah. But like I said, the main campaign reviewing very well. Demo was awesome. Played super well. Looks fantastic. And it is available by the time you're listening to this. So if you've been waiting on Resident Evil 3, or if you're just sitting at home, you have nothing to do, it is now out. And that's going to just about do it for this podcast. We want to thank you all for listening. We have our Animal Crossing Islands. If you just want to come over, or I had some people come over this past week because I had turnips at a decent price a couple days. So I've had some dodo codes going out. I had some friends come to my island selling some turnips, doing some stuffs. So if you want to get a hold of us, like I said at the top of the podcast, our socials, but you can also message us at Logon Games on any of the social media. We'll get you hooked up. Whether you want to play Animal Crossing or Apex or anything like that with us, please just shoot us a message and we will get it. But again, thank you all for listening. New podcast every Friday. We're also working on some new shows right now. So if there's anything that you want to see, shoot us a message and just be ready for some newness.
All right.
But yeah, that's going to be it for us. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
See you.